So compassion is based on the belief that someone has the prerogative to live at peace, enjoy, and free of suffering. It's a feeling of empathy and kindness. For instance, you tend to have compassion for a stray dog. So you buy him lunch whenever you are able to. As this dog likely is starving and is suffering, the purpose of you buying him lunch is to ease his hunger. On the other hand, love is a form of attachment you build and a commitment you make towards something or someone. It's a form of investment. You developed an attachment to this dog you saw most days. Then you adopt this stray dog and you take him home with you. You bathe him, you buy him a bed, you buy food and toys, you take him to the vet, you buy him a baby camera just to make sure he's safe as you're at the office. That feeling of compassion that you had earlier, oh, you must be really suffering, so I will ease your pain, or I will ease your hunger, turn into a long-term commitment. Now it's not merely a feeling of empathy or kindness you have towards any animal. You're making intentional decisions, taking deliberate actions to invest in this dog's present and future. You made a commitment to be responsible for his life. Therefore, you're doing everything in your power to make his life better, happier, and more abundant. Self-compassion is based on the promise that you are an imperfect and flawed being just like every other human, and that you deserve peace, joy, and to be free of suffering, despite it all. It's a form of kindness and empathy that you extend to yourself, especially when you are experiencing a setback or painful circumstances. Self-compassion is simply being kind, non-judgmental, and gentle to yourself as you are navigating these chaotic events and emotions. According to Dr. Kristen Neff, a researcher and professor and pioneer of fierce self-compassion, self-compassion comprises three main components. Think about the person that you love the most in the world. It could be an animal. How would you talk to them? How would you treat them? And what would you say to them on a daily basis? If you're going through something terrible, the way you talk to them would be positive and encouraging. If they went through a breakup, for example, you'd be more reassuring, empowering, and not critical. You're less likely to say something along the lines of, "Oh, I told you so. You shouldn't have been with this person. It was your fault because you caved in. It's your fault because you're not good enough." When you make a mistake and when someone says something mean, or when you are burdened by everyone's expectations, self-compassion doesn't make harsh judgments about yourself. It's the voice that sits back and says, "It's okay, I'll make it through. I'll give myself the rest and peace I need right now." It doesn't go, "Oh, you're so horrible, that's why they're mean to you, and you failed this test, so you're a total failure now." Self-compassion does not judge, it observes. It's like the soft but firm queen sitting on the throne. She's full of resolve and also very powerful, and when something happens that threatens her power, for example, let's say someone says that she's not fit enough or strong enough to be a queen, she takes a look at them, she hears what they say, but she chooses to be kind to herself, despite weird insults. When something happens that shakes you, self-compassion says, "You're not alone in this. There are many others in this world who go through similar pain as you. Maybe you haven't met them, but they are there, maybe in another corner of this world." It tells you that you're a part of a community of people who suffer the same or similar struggles, similar difficulties as you, to feel included. It makes you understand that your suffering is a part of the human experience, rather than something odd that happens only to you as a result of your failures and your wrongdoings. In the early example of the queen, who was told that she's not strong enough to be a queen, if she feels sad and worried about what they said, she lets these thoughts and emotions that she get as a result of what they said just be. She chooses to not get consumed by it because she chooses to be compassionate to herself, rather than sinking in those painful feelings. So as you try to navigate the twists and turns of life, the thorns and the sharp edges of life, as people come and go, the only person that certainly will stay with you is you. At least you have to stay with yourself. Some people stray further away from themselves by doing dark things, like sabotaging themselves and acting on destructive impulses when life hits too hard. But when you know deep within that you deserve the kindness and gentility, you become more resilient. Research says that people who are more self-compassionate are better at coping with stress, distress. They tend to feel more satisfied with life, and they report that they feel more optimistic and content more frequently than negative emotions. If you're trying to heal psychological wounds, it all starts with self-compassion. Imagine you injure your leg as you fall from like the bike and there's a huge injury forming. Healing, it requires not only medication, but rest, relaxation, taking some time off of work, or, hustling toward your goals. However, if you think, well, I can't rest right now because I have to prove to Susan that I'm an achievement-oriented, hardworking employee, your injury will not have any way of healing. Psychological healing requires emotional depth to see in full view how flawed you are, like your flaws, your errors, and to crumble your defenses that you have created to avoid confronting your shortcomings or your past pain. The whole process takes a lot of grace, patience, and self-forgiveness. You need self-compassion to recover from your inner bully, at least to fight it. The bully within your mind was not created, out of nowhere. The mind bully is a long, sustained collection of external figures that you have internalized. Or at times, it can also be certain interpretations that you had, whether it was like right or wrong, when you were a child. When you were at a very vulnerable time in your life, you made certain judgments, you made certain interpretations of certain events that happened to you. For example, say your parents never really paid attention to you when you were a child, and you had to constantly do things to impress them, to get the attention that you needed. And your brain attributed this event to you not being pretty enough, even if it was not the truth. But as a child, your brain can't make these logical judgments and rational judgments by looking at the big picture. So it did what it could do to make sense of things, no matter how erroneous it was. And you carry that thinking into your adulthood, and there you go, you have your inner bully. There's a part of you, more like a demon, that instills this shame inside of you. The extremely critical and unhelpful self-statements, right? That's the inner bully that come from this toxic entity that's just living rent-free in your mind. If you want that bully to not dominate every aspect of your life, you need a different voice that can counter its claims. And that could be the voice of self-compassion. For every, oh, what a loser you get from the bully, the voice of self-compassion is soft. It's observant and gentle. When they experience some kind of pain, the self-compassionate person chooses a healthier way of coping with that pain. Because the underlying belief of self-compassion is that you deserve to be free of suffering. And if you are suffering as a result of life and being human, you deserve to be eased of that suffering. The strategy self-compassionate people use to deal with overwhelming emotions, it helps them heal that experience and come out of it stronger and better. The less self-compassionate person chooses a more self-destructive approach, like addictive behaviors or anything that would somehow negatively affect their health or their sense of self. It's likely leaving them unhealed and feeling worse than they did before. Research says that people who are more self-compassionate tend to look at negative events that happen to them in a more positive light. In other words, they tend to positively or even neutrally reframe the unpleasant experience. Assuming you got rejected by a crush, the less self-compassionate person would catastrophize or think this is the end of the world for them. I'd never ask anyone ever again, love is not for me, I'm such a loser. A more self-compassionate person would think, I don't like this makes me feel sad. But there's a whole lot more people to explore in this world. Maybe there are things I can learn from this experience. I'm proud that I was able to put myself out there and talk to someone I have a crush on. The more self-compassionate you are after experiencing trauma, the more likely you are to come back stronger from the experience. This is perhaps because self-compassionate people tend to be more patient and accepting and graceful with themselves as they navigate those difficult waves of pain. Just a heads up, there are many people who may not want you to have self-compassion. They'd be thrilled if you feed your inner bully and internalize those unhelpful criticisms. Why is that? Well, it can be because of their own personality, their childhood immaturity, needing a sense of control and power by seeing you suffer, feeling genuine pleasure and joy by observing someone's pain, a lack of decency, a lack of empathy, a lack of discipline. I can go on. But those people are not relevant because they're not the ones living your life. Journal what comes to mind when you think of being more kind to yourself and what it looks like to you. You need to reflect on on what beliefs prevent you from being self-compassionate. Find out what you're afraid of. If you stop being self-critical, or if you sort of lessen those critical self-statements, what would happen? What can happen if you would be more kinder to yourself? Sometimes you think self-criticism is a defense mechanism. By telling yourself that you're a loser, or like you're this, you're that, no matter how painful it is, sometimes you work harder, even though it's not in a healthy manner. So you try to fit in more, you dress in different types of clothes, even though it's not what you like. Sometimes this inner critic makes you do things so that it helps you fit in, or be socially successful, or to be successful in your career, although you don't feel happy. So in this case, self-criticism is trying to protect you from social rejection. You will learn to do things just to fit into the social environment that you're in. So you will get some form of approval, even though it's not lasting. So maybe subconsciously you're afraid that if this self-criticism goes away, you will be socially rejected. Or you will not strive to achieve your goals, and ultimately you will not be successful, or you will not have the approval that you need. It's important that you understand why you think that this self-criticism, perhaps you think that it's needed for you. You need to train your brain to see things in a self-compassionate way. If you want to increase your fitness level, you exercise regularly, you do strength training, you have the right diet, go to the gym. These are all things you were not doing before, but you develop this habit of doing these little by little. Maybe you're not used to doing any of it, but the more consistently you do it, your body gets used to it and it becomes habitual. Think about building self-compassion as another habit that you're creating. To create a habit, you need to be disciplined and consistent. Think about what makes you deserving of self-compassion. List 3 reasons to feel compassion for yourself. Write about moments from your day, that you approached something from a self-compassionate lens. And if you did not approach something that happened within the day from a self-compassionate lens, write it down, the event, thoughts that you had, and whether the thought was self-compassionate or not, and what is the alternative way that you can think of that takes a more self-compassionate perspective. If you're one of the writers or you love to write, go ahead and write a loving letter to yourself. But if you don't like writing, open the recorder on your phone, record speaking to yourself, address some pain you're going through or that you went through. Let yourself know that you get it. You understand the struggles you're going through. Validate it. No matter how small or big this struggle is to other people, validate your struggles. How do you validate your struggles? It's a simple, they didn't like you back, or this didn't happen. Of course it hurts you. That's how it is when you go through things like this. You don't get something that you want, that you desire. No matter how small other people think it is, it still hurts. So I get it. You're suffering right now and it's valid. It's okay. Have some empathy for yourself for whatever you're going through and what you have gone through. You don't judge what you're feeling or your experience, your thoughts, your emotions that you're having about the experience. Like, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't be feeling this. This shouldn't have happened. Or like being mean to yourself. None of that. Remind yourself your experience is a part of being human. There are people on the other end of the world that are going through similar struggles. So you're not alone, even though you feel like that. You likely don't have people to relate to right now. Failure, loss, pain, grief, your flaws, these are what reminds you that you are human. I'd say think of people that you know, or people you have seen on the internet. Could be celebrities, even fictional characters who have messed up, like failed at one point at something or made huge mistakes. Because celebrities are really good examples to learn from, whether they're good or bad or neutral. Don't forget to include a sentence or two about having faith and hope no matter how hard it is right now or how hard it's been. If you believe in a higher power like God, the universe, any entity that's bigger than you, source, make sure to include a sentence or two about how you're not alone, how they're with you. Connecting the high power, if you believe in it, can be a great source of healing. Connecting with a higher power doesn't mean that pain will end or you won't have any struggles, but it's a good way to heal, but also to heal while you are going through it. Some people find it very difficult to do this compassionate letter writing or to even record themselves speaking like that because they have this long-standing critical voice that's been there for a very long time. In that case, imagine a compassionate figure, ideal nurturing figure in your mind. Who is this person? Really imagine them, okay? It's better if this person is wise, strong, loving, and compassionate in general. If you don't have someone like that around you or someone like that in your life right now, or you have never had someone like that, and even if you do, like, you may find someone else better as the ideal nurturing figure, you can choose someone else. You can choose a fictional character, someone you saw on a TV show, a cartoon, a celebrity, or like Master Shifu, Po on Kung Fu Panda. I used to love Ninja Turtles growing up, and I loved the master. He's pretty wise and calm, and I love his energy. It could be him too. It's valid. It doesn't have to be a real person, and your brain really can't tell the difference between what's actually real and what's not. And truth is, there are real people who actually have Po's and Shifu's qualities. Just maybe you don't have them in your life right now. It doesn't mean that you never will. So you have to imagine this ideal nurturing figure actually personally knows you, and imagine how would they write the letter or speak to you. What would they say to you? You can write the letter or speak it into the recorder by imagining yourself as that person, or imagining what they would say to you in a compassionate letter. When I was a kid, I've always been very emotionally sensitive, and there were a lot of conflicts going on because I was not like a normal kid who could just adjust to any situation or change, and there was a lot of invalidation. invalidating how I was feeling. And there were many moments I cried. There was a lot of pain. But I used to watch Franklin, the cartoon, and I was obsessed with The Wind in the Willows. Also, the cartoon, it was very cozy, it was very safe and peaceful and calm, and it was like the opposite of where I was growing up. And I have a very vivid imagination. And every time someone screamed at me and told me, "You are whatever," and it hurt so much, I'd imagine myself in Rat's house drinking tea with them. And sometimes Franklin was there too. This was not psychotic. This was not a complete break from objective reality. It was a survival mechanism. But my point is, it doesn't have to be a real person. What you need is for this person, even a cartoon animal character, you emotionally resonate with. That's what you need to feel their compassion towards you. So the inner bully comes through, right? You get thoughts like, oh, I'm such a loser. Why can't I be like XYZ? Those thoughts that constantly push you down and beat you up like an actual external bully, let thoughts be thoughts and don't engage with them. So when you get a thought like, oh, I'm such a loser, even my little brother can do things better than I do, those hate thoughts, like hate comments, just let it be. I know it can be uncomfortable, but look at them as they come, like they're all displayed on a movie screen. The task here is to look at it, observe it, but not interact with them. Don't interact with the bully, just let it be. You're not going to have a conversation with the thoughts or try to prove the thoughts wrong. You're going to just observe, because if you try to talk to the thoughts or prove them wrong, it's like adding gasoline to fire. What you're doing here is you're creating a distance between the bully or the thoughts and yourself. And as you do this for some time, your mind will begin to understand that the thoughts and you are two separate things. So let the thoughts just play in the movie screen. Meanwhile, you just sit back and chill. I suggest you categorize the most frequent type of thoughts. Like categorize the mean thoughts you get about yourself or your life. So for example, if you frequently get mean thoughts about your career, okay, how unsuccessful you are or you will be, how you'll be rejected by anyone you're attracted to, how you have no talent or how ugly you look, and you give it all silly names according to the category. Like for example, about your career, so you categorize certain thoughts about your career, and what is that inner bully's name? About love and romance, what is that inner bully's name? Make sure it's a silly name and actually laugh about it. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching my video. If you want anything, if you liked the video, if you'd like to receive more videos from me, well, leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video.